Okay, so two Catholics, an atheist, and a Jew walk into a bar. Inside, they meet a couple of Presbyterians, a Baptist, some Methodist, a fundamentalist, and a deist. Now, as much as that might sound like the start of a really bad joke or a really good night at Nick's on any given weekday, that was actually our class on building your own theology. It was organized by Reverend Terry and Marty Bynum. Thank you to both. What began as a diverse group of seekers quickly took on the dynamic of an instant covenant group. The atmosphere of trust and honesty encouraged each of us to share our questions and observations and enabled us to deeply examine our beliefs, assumptions, and values. While we were free to ask each other questions, no one was there to convert anyone to any particular form or practice of belief. Like the Pilgrims in the Canterbury Tales, we each in turn shared our stories, our religious backgrounds, what was important to us, and how we came to this fellowship. I'd like to say that by the time we were finished, we had a clearer view of our paths, but we discovered that we aren't ever really finished. The following words were shared by Meredith Walker. Our class set out on a journey, one in which members started out from different places, went in different directions, and still somehow wound up together. It was the togetherness that made our class, our gathering, the positive and enriching experience it was. As we gathered side by side in what became our circle of friendship, and as we shared what we could of the days of our lifetime, we sought to define our individual spiritual and ethical beliefs. But even when our core beliefs greatly differed, our sense of togetherness and regard for each other did not diminish. Because of the loving kindness of all who spoke felt that they had been heard. Now, three of our brave pilgrims, Carol Keel, Mary Hilliard, and Debbie Bisdell, will share the personal credos they developed during this course.
My name is Carol, and I am an atheist. Why do I always sound like I'm standing up at an AA meeting when I say that? I don't know. But here, I'll say it again. My name is Carol, and I am an atheist, a secular, humanist atheist. I think deep down inside I've been an atheist my entire life, although I masqueraded as a Presbyterian until I was in my 40s. As a child, I viewed the whole idea of God and religion as just another fairy tale, and was puzzled by the fact that all the adults in my life seemed to buy into it. But being the ever-obedient, approval-seeking, eager-to-please, good little girl, I pretended that I did too. Maybe, I thought, belief was something that came with growing up, and when I grew up, I'd believe too. Well, I grew, but belief didn't. As I got older, I continued to struggle against my atheism as I realized that belief in God was a socially expected norm. And goodness gracious, I didn't want to buck the norms of society. So I did the socially accepted thing and made sure I appeared to believe what everyone else did. But the more I read and studied and thought, the more God made no sense to me. Faith seemed so childlike, so juvenile, and I had a perfectly good brain that had matured over the years. I didn't need others to tell me what I should believe. I could think for myself, thank you very much. I viewed the whole idea of religion as illogical, irrational, and counterintuitive. As philosopher Albert Hubbard said, faith is the effort to believe that which your common sense tells you is not true. How in the world could so many intelligent people buy into this fairy tale, this superstition, this ardent belief that there was a superpower somewhere up there in the sky? How could they pray, "Thy will be done," when there was so much pain and suffering in the world? How could they submit to being mere puppets with some God figure pulling all their strings? But they did, and I didn't. So I concluded that there must be something wrong with me, some flaw. What was wrong with me? Truly, I was tortured by this inability to believe that made me different from everyone else. Then, about 20 years ago, I finally gave up trying. I could no longer recite the Apostles' Creed or the Lord's Prayer without choking on the words. And so I decided to come out of the closet and admit that I was an atheist. It was scary, but it was also liberating. I felt like I'd been living a lie, pretending to be a Christian, and finally I had the courage to discard that false persona and be the real me. It was a breakthrough in my growth as a self-actualized and independent-minded adult. Then, when I stumbled across this fellowship filled with like-minded souls, I felt like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders. I was not alone in my lack of faith. I could breathe freely amongst these, my people, and more importantly, I could speak freely. So, I don't believe in God in any shape or form, but what do I believe? I believe in life, life in all its many forms, both plant and animal. My idea of worship, or the holy, or divine, or sacred, is connecting with other life forms and with the earth itself. I am overcome with awestruck emotion when I hold a newborn baby, either my own, or my grandchildren, or infant Aliana Hope. Or when I feel my husband's out of the blue and for no reason but love caress when I least expect it. Or when I look deep into the eyes, the adoring eyes of a cat or a dog, my own or one of the many neighborhood pets. Or when I see a wild animal in its natural habitat, a grizzly bear in Alaska or a moose in Maine. I am overcome with awestruck emotion when I connect with both the performers and the rest of the audience, responding as one to a brilliant performance of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, or silently weeping at the beauty and pathos of a ballet production of Romeo and Juliet, or marveling at the exquisite music of She Sings. I've been overcome with emotion when I've run in races, connecting with thousands of other runners, all sharing the same goal, the same exhilarating joy, and sometimes the same pain, whether in a local 5K run for charity or the full 26.2-mile marathon in Rome, Italy. I was overcome with awestruck emotion when my husband and I together experienced the wondrous depths of the Grand Canyon and the towering peaks of the Rockies and the glistening glaciers of Alaska and the impossible brilliance of the stars in the night sky as seen from our backpacking tent pitched on a mountaintop in Montana. All of these experiences connected me with the wonders of the earth and strengthened the connections with my husband. I am awestruck with emotion when I read the Latin of Virgil or Ovid or Catullus and connect with those ancient writers and all the people who have read those same beautiful words for thousands of years. I am overcome with awestruck emotion when I share a hike by the roaring rapids of the Chattooga or experience the wonders of any one of the many gorgeous waterfalls in our area with the hulas, connecting me both to the place and to the other women. These experiences are my religion, my way of praying or worshiping or experiencing the sacred. They are what keep me going, what I live for. Without these connections to life of all kinds and all times, and to the earth in all its many wonders, life would be a barren wasteland. Some people pray to their God or meditate in solitude to enrich their lives. Not me. I have to get out and experience every facet of life and connect with it directly via every one of my senses. Praise be to the earth and all life upon it.
Wow, Carol. That was beautiful. You're beautiful. Good morning. My name is Mary Hilliard, and I am a recovering fundamentalist Christian. I believe in a universal spirit force. I choose to call this force God. I believe this force is a spirit of love who created us and existed before us. I see God as he, she, but will proceed today in referring to God in the male gender. I view man-made religions as grossly failed attempts to define and interpret God, usually putting God in a box, setting limits on him, and as history has shown us, using him to justify whimsical and extremist doctrine with perverted motives, exploiting the simple faith of many for personal gain. We've all heard it before. Religion can be the enemy of God. It's often what happens when God, like Elvis, has left the building. The God I believe in reveals his genius in the intelligent design of nature, as Carol so wonderfully described. The God I see lives and moves and breathes in the fabric of relationships. I believe he is almost synonymous with relationships. It is relationships that sustain us in life. Our individual and collective happiness is defined by these relationships in our families, in our friendships, our work relationships, our mentors, our teachers, our relationship with the earth as we enjoy the earth's glories and as we enjoy our attempts to explore its mysteries through shared learning and scientific study. Great darkness exists when these relationships are broken or wounded, lost through death or lost through divorce, bringing to us devastation in sadness, sorrow, despair, hurt, and anger. For me, losing faith has never been my life struggle, nor has not having any faith. For me, and many others like myself, who come from broken homes that include all manner of abuse, it's been not knowing what love is that's been the cry of my soul. So for me, it turns out that it wasn't the God of the Bible I was looking for, because he no longer is stuck inside the Bible. It wasn't Buddha, nor was it Allah or Joseph Smith. It's always been the spirit of love that I have pursued. In other words, I've been looking for love in all the wrong places until now. So today, my definition of salvation is the need to be loved and the need to love. It's having the ability to live fully in every moment, being loved in the moment and loving others in every moment. One truth embedded into my soul as a result of my life's journey is the truth about forgiveness. We can't love, nor can we live without it. Now, while I do believe there is life after death, I don't presume to know what that's going to be like, and neither do I really care today, because I care today about living fully in this life. Prayer for me has changed. While I believe in God, I don't pray to him or ask him for anything. It's become a form of meditation in which I concentrate on and send out, combining my energy with universal forces, imparting healing and restoration or reconciliation. Lastly, I want to take the opportunity to thank you all for being a part of my personal journey. As stated last week in the comment portion of the service, and if you didn't hear it, you can listen to it on the website, someone was quoted as saying, "This was the most Christian bunch of atheists that they have ever seen." Well, I agree wholeheartedly. I've been attending this fellowship for 2 years, and at times I've scratched my head and wondered how people who don't believe alike can even exist in unity. In the 30 years of my fundamental Christianity, I've never seen such unity amongst people that believe the same thing, so I'm perpetually perplexed to find it amongst people who don't. So thank you, Unitarian Universalists. Thank you to my fellow members of the Building Your Own Theology class for gently stripping away the religiously imposed limitations of my faith and allowing me to continue my journey with newfound life-affirming liberty.
Good morning. My name is Davy Story, and these were two hard acts to follow. So, I was raised in a rural Southern Baptist church and community by good, loving parents. But this strict belief system failed me miserably when I was in my late teens. As a result, by the time I was 27, I had completely turned my back on religion. It took me almost 30 years before I was again ready to explore God and spirituality. Many events helped me along this new path, but one of the earliest was The Dance of the Dissident Daughter by Sue Monk Kidd. I felt a special affinity to her because she too was raised Southern Baptist and eventually broke away from the church as I had. Up until about 7 months ago, my spiritual journey was pretty much self-directed. Then I walked into the doors of UUFC. What a refreshing voice and mindset. This became especially clear during the wonderful Build Your Own Theology classes. Having this connection with others helped me strengthen and bring into focus my own beliefs. So here are 9 beliefs that, at least for now, I hold as true. We are more than material beings, and there is a power in the universe that is greater than and more complex than we can possibly know or understand. And this power, this higher consciousness, animates all creation. I believe the spark of this higher consciousness lives inside us all. Through meditation, quiet contemplation, and a supportive faith community, we can reconnect with this higher consciousness and our deepest self. This is an awareness that can't be earned, for it is already there. We simply open our hearts to receive it. I believe the ability to become the quiet observer behind our human thoughts and dramas is the beginning of spiritual wisdom. And the greatest stumbling blocks to spiritual growth are inflexibility, a closed mind, and absolute certainty. I believe the interconnected web that binds us all together. I believe in the interconnected web that binds us all together. And what we do to one, we do to ourselves and to all. The ripples we send out by how we live and treat others have far more impact for good or ill than we will ever know. I believe we are spirits on a human journey, here to help each other grow in wisdom and to learn how to love and forgive, even when faced with hurt, sorrow, loss, or injustice. I believe that compassion, empathy, grace, kindness, and acceptance can overcome the love of power and the need to control. And finally, I believe humankind is slowly but surely moving toward a spiritual evolution that will completely dissolve our illusion of separateness and change how we love, how we perceive reality, and how we interact with each other and the earth. Cynthia Bourgeault expressed this beautifully when she said, "We are creation, becoming aware of itself."
I have the privilege of offering some closing remarks. But the reality is that I'm not standing here as the person with all the answers. One of the rich things about our faith is that we all are theologians for each other. And certainly thank you for sharing your understandings of life and faith at this point. Over the weekend, I had a conversation with 2 or 3 different people, and I kept saying, and ours is a faith tradition that honors and respects the individual search for religious truth, so we would never try to make you believe like me. And certainly our Building Your Own Theology class has been a wonderful example of that. Because as you can see, the credos that we shared this morning, the beliefs of the members of the group, varied about as widely as you could have. But we also became aware, just because of our personal life experiences, that there aren't many places in our lives where we could have shared so deeply. As we shared our stories, we honored how each person came to this community from very different places. That's not that unusual for a university community. Yet what became evident was that the trust we shared made it possible for us to articulate very deep aspects of our lives that really are too precious to share out there in the world. Together, we created a sacred space in which each of us became the guardian for our sharing and openness. And I want to go back to the opening words that Bill shared from Francis David, who was one of the founders of Unitarian thought, who in 1568 preached, "You need not think alike to love alike." And clearly from the sharing here, it was that foundation of love that shapes not only what we do here, but how we want to live our values in the world, that really helped to weave us together. One of the things that was also really wonderful is that while in covenant groups you meet a lot, in our Building Your Own Theology class, we even got a baby out of the deal. So Aliana Hope was born in the middle of our class, and Carrie was a participant. So it was like we, in our own hearts and minds, were birthing something new for ourselves, and she just manifested it more concretely than the rest of us. So thank you. Thank each of you. My life has been enriched. I think one of the gifts of being a Unitarian Universalist minister is I don't have a party line. I was joking with someone the other day that, and I've said this before, but I think it's really important for us to hold on to, is many of my clergy colleagues who I love and work closely with are people of the book. We're people of the library, and we need to continue to honor that search. But I think also what's important for all of us to remember is that it's not easy being a Unitarian Universalist. It's not easy to go through a class like this and have to sit and think, what do I believe right now? Because it's very intimate and very personal. So thank all of you for helping create an environment where that kind of trust can be honored and can be built. So thank you for sharing your words this morning. I know it took a lot of strength, to share your beliefs in the midst of all of these people. And thank you for holding that trust so that our class could share. May your words and our hearing be the basis from which new growth may emerge. And through this, may we learn to live in perfect harmony so that our beliefs aren't just for ourselves, but for how we want to live in the world. And so I think that's a good segue into our closing hymn, which will also be our benediction.